G'day, I'm Brodie Brown, Millionaire Mortgage Secrets, and in this video I'm going to run through the differences between an offset and redraw. Simple question, get asked it all the time. Just for clarity, let's talk about how you refer to these things. Offset is an offset account. Redraw, people talk about having a redraw account or a redraw facility. Redraw facility, redraw account, not really the right terminology. So let me explain this to you. Offset account, the easiest way for you to understand what it is it's a separate account for all intents and purposes. It's a savings account with the same interest rate as your loan, that just happens to be tax-free. If you earn interest on savings, you're going to pay tax on it because you're earning interest. If you are saving interest by having money in an offset account, you aren't paying tax. It's tax-free. Redraw, it's not an account. All redraw does is it permits you to redraw money out of the loan. All right, this is term loans 101. When you take out a contract with a lender to borrow money, it's usually over a term, more often than not, 20 years, 25 years, 30 years. You are contracted to make a minimum repayment each month, or each fortnight, or each week, whatever you agree to pay. And that's your part of the contract. And you've got to make those repayments every month for 25, 30 years, whatever the case may be. Put some handcuffs around you, right? So that's the agreement that you have. If you are a smart cookie and you have read my book, Millionaire Mortgage Secrets, and you're like, yeah, I don't want to be in debt for 30 years because that's fucking dumb, then you will make extra repayments. No magic in that. That's how you get out of debt faster. You spend less, you make extra repayments. So if you do that, what ends up happening is that the loan repayment schedule, you get ahead of it. So let's just say that at any given point in time that this is where the loan limit is, the loan balance is supposed to be, but you make extra repayments, that says extra, you make extra repayments into the loan, you get ahead, right? So that's the limit, but the balance is less than that, or you might be crazy aggressive and you might be there. So this is the loan remaining, so you get ahead. Now banks say, well, we're not going to penalise you for that. You've been a good boy, good girl, and you've just repaid a bit extra each month, and you've gotten ahead, and that's cool. We understand that might be your savings, which it is. It's equity, same thing. So this difference between what the balance is after you making extra payments and what the loan limit is, that is redrawable. You can take that money out of the loan and you can use it to buy things with. The thing is to get it out of the loan, because the loan account is a fully functional bank account, mostly, you can take that money out, you can redraw it, right? Really easy. Then you can go and use it. You can go on a holiday to Paris, or you can waste it on other shit. So that's what redraw is. I like to think of redraw as an action, redrawing money. Is that prepayment? The prepayment is what it is. It's a prepayment, because if you're paying ahead of schedule, it's a prepayment, right? Is that money, that extra prepayment, redrawable? Yes, it is. Okay. Now, so I hope you can understand that. It's pretty basic, right? So, an offset account, slightly different. Going in reverse here. This is your loan. This is a house, but that's going to be the loan. Then I like to draw a partition in between these things because there is a separation between that and your offset, right? Offset. Offset account is the savings account with the same interest rate as your home loan. How it works is that if you have a loan here of 800 grand, I've covered this in more detail in another video, but let's go through it again here because you're watching this one. So you've got an 800 grand loan over here, and you've got, say, $300,000 in an offset account, which I seldom see because people are just absurdly, abhorrently bad with their money. You've got 300 grand in the offset account. You've got a loan for 800,000. How much are you paying interest on? 8 minus 3, 500,000. So you're paying interest on 500,000. Now, a couple of little things that you need to understand. Different lenders operate their loans slightly differently, depending on the conversation that you might have with them and depending on what you want to do. Right? What I mean by that is using myself as an example. I have a bunch of money in my loan. I don't pay a lot of interest on the principal because it's mostly offset. I like that because I don't like having debt. Although I'm selling it, I'm also educating people on how to get out of debt, and that's how you're here because you downloaded my book initially, I'm sure, or I hope you have. If not, get a copy. So what happens is because you have 300 grand offsetting that $800,000, that means that the repayment doesn't change. So let's just say that your minimum monthly repayment is 3 grand, but that repayment was determined by that initial loan limit of 800,000, for example. But if you've got 300 grand in the offset account and your repayment remains the same, that means that the composition of the repayment changes. And what I mean by that is that, say, for example, I might be getting too deep here, but let's just get deep, and that's 11 to 20, and that's 21 to 30. This is years. Okay, so in years 1 to 10 of each repayment, that 3 grand, for example. I hope you're sitting down for this because this is shocking and it sucks, but this is why most people don't know where their fucking money goes. So in the first 10 years of the loan, roughly of that 3,000 repayment, guess how much is interest? Depending on the interest rate, it's something like 65 to 70% is interest. Yeah. Talk about spinning wheels. So that's why when people settle on a property and they bought a new home and they borrowed a shit ton of money and they're like, we are not repaying the loan. Yeah, the reason is because the interest is calculated on the largest loan balance before you begin to break the back of it up here, all right? So years 11 to 20, 11 through to 20 rather, look, this is rough maths, but it's about 50%, give or take. So 50% interest, 50% principal, and then these final years, of course, it goes down like this. But you're looking at sort of, for argument's sake, 25%. So 25% of your repayment is interest and 75% is principal. That's why when you look at the graph, which you should have looked at, that's time and this is your balance. The graph goes like that. All right, so, and what I mean by that is you've got interest, you've got principal over here, and that goes like that, okay? Because all of in these first few years, these 10 years here, you're paying an absolute shit ton of interest, and that's why you don't get ahead. So what you got to do is you got to break the back of the loan. So where I was going with that is that in these initial years, you want to build up your offset as much as you can. You want to do that anyway, but the repayment is calculated based on $800,000, and if you've got 300 grand in there, that means that the composition of the repayment in those first few years is more like what it should be and what it will be, you hope, if you don't keep on refinancing and extending the terms. The composition of the repayment is more like it is towards the end of the loan. So what does that mean? It means that you go from here, right? Your graph, your repayment graph looks like something like that. Okay, so the term of the loan shortens. Now that happens with redraw as well, but the difference between redraw and offset is that typically speaking, when you have made extra repayments, the amount of the repayment each month changes as you make extra repayments. So the more you have prepaid the loan, the lower the repayments go. Sometimes that suits people. That's important for you to understand, right? So if that's what you want to do, all things being equal, then just put your money straight into the loan. But I'm going to talk about a couple of other little bits and pieces which I think you need to know before you consider that. So let's talk about advantages. Now I've talked about what they do. Let's talk about the advantages of each. So an offset account, I reckon the main advantages to me is money management. I was going to give you the big thing first, which is why you should keep watching this, because I'm going to cover something off at the end, which is where people stuff it up. So money management. Money. When you've got an offset account, it's a fully functional savings account, operates like a current account, which they're all the same these days. So what I mean by that is you can have direct debits, you can pay bills, you can pay credit cards, you've got a Visa debit card or something similar, MasterCard, whatever it is, so you can take your savings and you can spend it with a card or your phone or whatever you want to do. So you've got flexibility and easy access to your money. It also creates an effective way for you to save. Very simple for you to put all your money in the offset account. The other thing that I like about it in terms of savings and being effective with your savings, because when you have debt, when you have a home loan, you don't want, which I see the smartest people do, they've got 80 grand sitting over, they've got a loan with, I don't know, Bank West, right? A loan with Bank West, and then they've got another loan with the owner of Bank West, CBA over here. They've got a current account, or a savings account rather, with 80 grand in it. And that's for Daniel's private school fees. But for some reason, psychologically, this person doesn't want to have that 80 grand in the offset account. I don't know why. So if you have cash savings, you might have wealthy parents, or you might have access to cash or something. When you've got a home loan, all of the cash in your possession should be either in the loan or in an offset account. The beauty of an offset account is you can have multiple. Some lenders will give you up to 10. And you can, if you're one of the envelopes people, which you should be, I am, you can have money for daily essentials, you can have money for travel, you can have money for the pets, you can have money for Daniel's private school fees, all in offset accounts and all separate and partitioned, and you don't need to have cards for each of them. So money management is, to me, one of the most important things that differentiate offset account to redraw when offset account to using or prepaying the loan, right? Let's say that. Now what? Here's the thing. So if you have any future plans, if you have any thoughts of keeping your existing property, which you're currently living in, it's owner occupied, but you're in your 30s, or 20s, 30s, 40s, and you think that maybe you want to keep this property, this house, villa, unit in a bloody good part of town, and you've already paid the stamp duty, you want to, and you've paid part of the loan. Maybe you want to keep it because you can afford to keep it as an investment property, right? You're going to convert it. What happens? You go and buy a home over here. This is bigger, right? Maybe you've created a family. So here's what happens. The way that the ATO determines if the interest on a loan is tax deductible is based on purpose. Let me repeat that. So the way that the ATO determine whether or not the interest on debt is tax deductible or not is based on purpose. the purpose of the funds, not based on the security or the collateral. Okay, you with me? Haven't confused you too much. So now let's think about this. So what happens if you're living in this for say 15 years, you buy this property and you initially borrowed 600 grand. But over the course of 15 years, you have aggressively repaid that loan and now it's only 100 grand. All of your money's in there, all of your savings in there. You guys you've rolled up your sleeves, you've gone, you've probably done what you should have done and you've repaid that loan. So all of your pay, all your savings has gone in there. Then, now all of a sudden, like magic, you've got 3 kids and you're like, shit, totally run out of space. We want to get to a different part of town, whatever. You want to buy this place over here. Your income can support it, but you don't have a hell of a lot of savings, right? Not uncommon. So you know that you've got equity in the home, but you need a way to access it. So the only way to access it, almost speaking like a Kiwi just then, the only way to access those funds, the only way to access those funds is, or that equity rather, is you've got to create a new loan, all right? Or you could, which I guess is both the one and the same thing, is you can redraw these funds. Remember how we talked about taking money out of the loan before? So you can redraw these funds, all right? Why would you want to do that? Because that's going to cover the 20% deposit and costs, deposit plus costs, right? Plus more. In fact, you always want to maintain the lowest non-tax deductible, non-income generating debt you possibly can, right? And the highest income generating tax deductible debt that you can. For obvious reasons, I've got another video that I made on saving tax. So you can redraw that money. So that loan that you've repaid down to 100,000, stick with me, you're going to draw this back up to the loan limit at that time, and that might be, for argument's sake, it might be 400 grand. Okay, so go from 100 to 400, that's $300,000. So you take out 300 grand. I see this all the time. People are like, yeah, but I'm just going to take the money out of the loan that I've already paid in there. I'm just going to redraw it. That 300 grand, I'm going to put that down to towards the deposit and cost of this one over here, right? That could be say $1 million, or thereabouts, and you need 200 for a 20% deposit plus the best part of 50 for stamps and costs. Well, and a little bit extra. Well, yeah, you can do that. You can do that. And then what they say, well, but now can I claim the interest on this 400 grand, right? Because we've got 100 grand over here. So we've brought the loan back up to the scheduled limit of 400,000. So Brody, I can claim, they usually tell me what they can do. I can claim the interest on that $400,000 as an expense. And I'm like, no, you can't. And they're like, why not? I said, because the loan is 100 grand. Now, so you've repaid that loan down to 100 grand. So the balance has been reduced down to 100 grand. That's the loan balance. If you redraw this, you're creating new debt. The ATO deemed this to be new debt, technically. So that 100 grand back up to 400 grand, that 300 grand, remember I said the ATO determined the tax deductibility of the debt based on the purpose, not based on the security stroke collateral. So this 300 grand, is it tax deductible? So that's dumb. You've just cheated yourself out of a pretty hefty potential tax deduction. I say potential because this is not advice, I'm not an accountant. I'm just telling you how these things work from a shitload of experience and 20-something years of doing this. Right, so that's what you need to know. That's why if there is any potential that you might retain your current property as an investment, put all your money, put all your savings, repay the loan by filling up your offset account. I would have to go into significant detail, which I can do with you in person if you want, to show you the difference between how an offset account works versus prepaying the loan exactly in this situation, but all you need to know is just don't do it. Okay, I'm not talking about massive gains, but look, when you're potentially, look, here's what happens, right? So imagine that you, each year, just by doing that thing that I explained to you before, each year you're $6,000 better off. Okay, so you increase or you decrease the amount of tax that you pay by $6,000, so you get a refund for $6,000. People are like, oh shit, I would have thought it'd be more money. You're like, yeah, okay, cool. So how long do you plan on holding that investment property for? 20 years? They might be 50 and they might not do anything to it, sell it, whatever, until they're 70. So $6,000, what's $6,000 times 20, right? 50, between ages of 50 and 70, what's the difference? Okay, 6 times 10. 6 times 20. Okay, is 120 grand a lot of money? Yeah? It's lovely, compounding, most powerful force in mathematics. So that's why, if you have any thoughts of converting your current property into an investment property down the track, put all your money in the offset account. In the offset account. If in doubt, do it. Why, or what are the disadvantages of offset? Well, look, to access your money, if you've prepaid it, it's free. Doesn't cost you anything. The other thing about redraw, which I like because I'm talking about this over here, I'll cover it now. It's a pro or a con, depending on your point of view. If you are not good with your money, putting money, prepaying your loan ahead of schedule, it's a pretty bloody smart strategy. And the reason why is because to use your money, you've got to, remember I showed you this before, to use prepayment, you've got to redraw it. You've got to go into your internet banking, into your app. You've got to move that 10K, whatever it is, you're going to buy, I don't know what people buy these days, junk mostly, plasma screen or a car or a new mattress or whatever. You've got to move that money out. So you've got an action there. And psychology says that if you take a longer amount of time to make that decision, particularly an expensive one or a purchasing decision, the likelihood of you making that decision decreases, or actually taking the action decreases. That's very powerful. You might not think it is, but when you go to, if you're abhorrently bad with your money and you need someone else to manage it for you, and you go to one of those money management specialists, what they do is they put themselves in between you and your money so you can't access it. This is a really simple method of doing that, so you've got to think about it, and it's important, all right? So it's when you're shopping online, one of my things is I just look at things until such point as I just get bored by it and I don't buy it. So that's my way of doing it. So redraw can work very well for people who suffer from profligacy, overspending. Offset account, very different. Usually there's a small fee. Some banks, they're going to charge you, the big banks are so fucking good at this, they're going to call it a package fee. They're going to give you a credit card and an offset account or 10, and they're going to charge you $3.95. You don't need to do that. If you want an offset account, there are lenders that will do it for $8. All right, some lenders will do it for free, but usually there's a fee to pay. So I'm just going to say here, there's a small fee to pay as part of doing it. Why, I don't know. The other thing that you should bear in mind is that some lenders, right, I'm accredited with 31 banks. It's a lot. Some lenders will penalise you by having applying a higher interest rate to the loan for an offset account. Okay, so you just want to make sure that, and there's actually a decent handful, and I don't know why they do that, but that's that's why that you entrust me to look after that sort of thing for you, because I can just simplify this and make sure that you're making the right decision based on what your situation is, right? So, look, I would conclude this video by saying that if there's any doubt, make sure you're with the right lender, you've got the right loan, and you have an offset account, and you're minimising fees. Very important. That's where your money goes, minimising fees, and you're just piling your money into an offset account. They're pretty handy. If you are in a transition phase and you're generally good with your money and you want to have an offset account because you like to do the envelopes, then have an offset. But if, for example, you are in a transition phase or transitioning to retirement, you have no plans on retaining your existing property as an investment and buying another home, just keep it simple. If you're good with your money, topic for another video, put all your money in here. Yeah, this is all you pay. In the final few pages of my book, put all your money into the loan, just fucking smash it, all right? Get rid of it, that's your job. Get rid of that loan, and you can use a credit card with, usually they're like 44 or 55 days interest free. You can mix and match this, topic for another video, but I'd be spending off this card. Everything goes off here. Bills, gas, electricity, water, kids' school fees, shopping, fuel, stuff, everything gets paid off there during the month. Then what happens is you have a direct debit to repay that credit card at the end of each month before you have any interest accrued on that money. So you're getting up to 30 days of free money, which is pretty cool. So thanks very much for watching. If you would like to speak to me, use the link below to book a free 10-minute intro call. BH Brown Mortgage Brokers, we are the wealth building mortgage broker. Thanks for watching.